The frost-covered headstone gleamed under the pale. November sun as Margaret, Wentworth's trembling fingers, traced her daughter's name one more time. Sarah Elizabeth Wentworth, 1985-2023. 23 years, that's all her beautiful girl had lived. Cancer had stolen her away just 18 months ago, and Margaret hadn't missed a single Sunday visit since. The CEO of Wentworth Industries, worth over $2 billion, could command boardrooms filled with powerful executives, but she couldn't command death to give her daughter back. Money meant nothing. Power meant nothing. All that remained was this cold marble, stone and memories, that cut deeper than any business deal ever could, as she knelt to place fresh white roses, Sarah's favorite. Margaret heard something. That made her freeze, soft weeping, a child's voice broken and frightened. "Please don't cry, Papa, please." Margaret looked up sharply. 20 feet away, beside a modest grave marker, sat a middle-aged man in a janitor's uniform. He was hunched over, shoulders shaking with silent sobs, while a little girl, no more than 5 years old, clung to his arm. Her small face twisted with worry. Something about the scene struck Margaret's heart like a hammer. The raw grief radiating from the man was familiar, terribly familiar. It was the same grief she saw in her own mirror every morning. She stood slowly, brushing grass from her expensive wool coat, and found herself walking toward them. She should leave them alone, respect their privacy. That's what the old Margaret would have done, maintain distance, avoid emotional entanglement with strangers. But losing Sarah had cracked something open inside her, something that couldn't be sealed again. "Excuse me," Margaret said gently. "I'm sorry to intrude, but are you all right?" The man's head jerked up, revealing red-rimmed eyes and a face etched with exhaustion. He quickly wiped his tears with his sleeve and attempted to stand. But the little girl held tight to him. "I'm fine, ma'am. Sorry, we'll move along." His voice was hoarse, defeated. "Please don't apologize." Margaret gestured to the grave beside them. "My daughter is here too, Sarah. I come every Sunday." The man's expression softened slightly. He glanced at the little girl, then back at Margaret. "Carlos Rodriguez," he said quietly. "This is my daughter, Sophia. We're visiting my wife, Rosa." Margaret's eyes moved to the headstone. "Rosa Elena Rodriguez, 1988-2024. She died just 3 months ago." "I'm so sorry for your loss," Margaret said, and meant it with every fiber of her being. "May I sit with you for a moment?" Carlos looked uncertain, but Sophia tugged his sleeve. "She seems nice, Papa." A ghost of a smile crossed Carlos's face. "Yes, Mia." "She does," he nodded to Margaret. "Of course." Margaret settled onto the cold ground, uncaring that her designer coat would be ruined. She noticed Sophia studying her with curious brown eyes. "Your flowers are pretty," Sophia said shyly, pointing to Sarah's roses. "Thank you, sweetheart. Your mama has beautiful flowers, too." Margaret gestured to the small bouquet of carnations at Rosa's grave, clearly purchased with careful consideration of a tight budget. Silence fell, comfortable despite the circumstances. Finally, Carlos spoke. "I come here every day before work. I clean offices downtown, midnight shift. My mother-in-law watches Sophia while I work, but she's getting older, struggling with her health. Today she couldn't take Sophia, so I brought her with me." His voice cracked. "I don't want her to see me like this, but I can't. I can't not come." Rosa was everything. Margaret's throat tightened. "I understand completely. After Sarah died, I threw myself into work thinking it would help. It didn't. The only place I feel close to her is here." "What happened to your daughter?" Sophia asked with childlike directness. "Was she sick?" "Sophia!" Carlos admonished, but Margaret held up a hand. "It's okay. Yes, she was sick. Cancer. She fought so hard for 3 years. She was a teacher, loved children. She always wanted to open a school where every child could learn, regardless of whether their families had money or not." Margaret smiled sadly. "She never got the chance." Carlos nodded slowly. "Rosa was a nurse. She worked in a free clinic, helping people who couldn't afford health care. That's actually how she got sick, hepatitis C from an accidental needle stick. By the time we caught it, her liver was failing. We couldn't afford the transplant." The words hung in the air like a physical weight. Margaret felt something twist inside her chest. Couldn't afford the transplant. How many times had she written checks for millions without thinking? How many corporate acquisitions had she overseen? Moving money around like chess pieces? And this man's wife had died because of money. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. That's unbearably unfair. Life is unfair, Mrs. Margaret. Just Margaret. She paused. "May I ask, how are you managing? With Sophia, with work, with everything?" Carlos laughed bitterly. "Managing is a generous word. I'm drowning." The medical bills from Rosa's treatment buried us. We lost our apartment last month. We're staying in a shelter now. I keep applying for day jobs so I can be with Sophia more. But no one wants to hire a 52-year-old janitor with no college degree. He looked at his daughter, his expression crumbling. "I'm failing her. Rosa would be so disappointed in me." "Papa, no!" Sophia threw her arms around him. "Mama wouldn't be disappointed. You're the best papa in the whole world." Margaret had to look away, blinking back tears. In that moment, watching this little girl comfort her broken father, something crystallized inside her. Sarah's voice seemed to echo in her mind. "Mom, what's the point of all that money if it doesn't help anyone?" They'd argued about it during Sarah's final months. Sarah wanted Margaret to establish a charitable foundation, but Margaret had resisted, claiming she needed to focus on the business, on Sarah's treatment. Now Sarah was gone, and the money sat in banks, doing nothing, meaning nothing. "Carlos," Margaret said suddenly, her voice firm with decision, "I want to help you." He stiffened. "Ma'am, I appreciate the thought, but we're not looking for charity." "It's not charity. Listen to me." Margaret turned to face him fully. "You said Rosa wanted to help people. My daughter did too. What if we honored them both? What if we helped each other?" Carlos looked confused. "I don't understand." Margaret took a deep breath. "I'm going to be direct. I'm not just a grieving mother. I'm Margaret Wentworth, CEO of Wentworth Industries. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. And right now it feels meaningless. But you have something I need. What could I possibly have that you need? Purpose, direction, a reason." Margaret's words tumbled out faster now. Energy building. "I want to start a foundation in Sarah's name. A school like she dreamed of where children from any background can learn. But also a medical fund in Rosa's name to help families afford treatments they desperately need. I've got the money, but I need someone who understands what it's like to struggle, what it's like to need help. I need someone with heart." Carlos was staring at her like she'd sprouted wings. You want me to work with me? Be the foundation's director. You'd oversee the programs, make sure the money goes to people who really need it. It would be a real job, real salary, enough to get you and Sophia stable. More importantly, it would mean something. We'd be continuing what Rosa and Sarah started. "Papa," Sophia whispered, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" Carlos's face was white. "Mrs. Wentworth, Margaret, I'm a janitor. I don't have qualifications." "You loved someone who dedicated her life to helping others. You're raising a daughter alone while working yourself to exhaustion. You know what real struggle looks like? That's the qualification that matters." Margaret reached out and took his hand. "Please, let me do this. Let's do this together, for them." The silence stretched. Then Carlos began to cry again, but this time the tears were different. Sophia hugged him tightly, and Margaret found herself reaching out too, this unlikely trio forming a circle of shared grief and sudden, unexpected hope. "Yes," Carlos finally managed. "Yes, for Rosa, for Sarah, for Sophia. For all the Rosas and Sarahs and Sophias who need help," Margaret added. 6 months later, the Sarah Wentworth and Rosa Rodriguez Memorial Foundation opened its doors. The building stood between the cemetery and downtown, a deliberate choice. Margaret and Carlos met there every morning, planning programs, reviewing applications, changing lives. Sophia attended the foundation's school, Thriving. Every Sunday, 3 figures could be seen at the cemetery, placing flowers on 2 graves. They came together now, this found family forged from loss. And if Sarah and Rosa could have seen them, they would have smiled, knowing their lives and their deaths had planted seeds that bloomed into something beautiful. Love, Margaret had learned, didn't end at the grave. Sometimes it was just beginning.